I've used and loved the original Elgato 9-inch prompter since it first came out, probably about a year and a bit ago now, and I used it every day in my workshops for my recordings that I'm doing right now and my live streams. It made such an impact when I was communicating with my clients and my audience simply by allowing me to maintain this eye contact. Now, some of the challenges I had with the original prompter was that the display was just a little bit too small for me, and it was difficult to see everything that I wanted, even the participants on a Zoom call. So when I heard about the bigger version of the Elgato prompter that was about to drop, I was like, all right, where do I get this thing? So I reached out to Elgato and asked them where I could buy the new prompter, because being here in Portugal, things take, well, a long time to get delivered, and packages don't always arrive, especially from the US. I've had way too many problems in the past. Now, incredibly, Elgato offered to send me one for free. No need to do a review, just that they wanted to send me one, which was truly amazing. So they shipped me one on the day of the release. And what can I say? So this is my review of the Elgato prompter. Elgato hasn't seen this review. They don't get to choose what's in it, but they did send it to me. So I did want to say a massive thank you to Elgato. It was completely unexpected. And all I was asking is where I could buy the prompter for myself here in Portugal, but they decided to send it over. So thank you very much to Elgato for that. Here's my review. Here's my thoughts. Let's do a little bit of a comparison and an unboxing, and I'll tell you what I think. So for giggles, I thought I'd put these two prompters side by side. First off, yes, you can run both prompters from one machine. And they do actually both show up in the Elgato Camera Hub and the DisplayLink software. So if anybody wants to try that out, and is anybody curious about how that is set up, you can actually run both prompters together on the same machine. So that's tested, working, no problem. This is the original 9-inch prompter. This is the new Elgato Prompter XL. This has 400 nits of brightness. This has 600 nits of brightness. Personally, I don't think there's a big difference in brightness. In fact, I would argue, if you look at them side by side, and these are set exactly the same, these are full brightness, 50% contrast in the settings, I would say that this prompter is slightly brighter than this prompter. It's hard for you to see on the camera, but when I look at these side by side, this does look a little bit brighter. Now, I've had this prompter since it came out. It's been great. The only downside is it's a little bit too small, especially when you have Zoom galleries set on here as well. For one-to-one calls, it's perfectly fine. You can see the person, it's great. But anything else, presentations, if you're reading some bullet points and things like that, it can be a little bit small. This beast does take care of all that. It's a lot bigger. This is actually a 1920 by 1080 Full HD display. It's actually just a separate monitor. You'll have seen it in the reviews. It's just basically a monitor with magnets on the back. The main difference is that you do need a high-powered USB-C version 3.0 to run this. It does require 15 watts of power compared to this guy. But as you can see, I'm running them both side by side here, no problem. Let's talk about the physical characteristics of this new prompter. It's a beast, as I said. It actually weighs 3.37 kilograms or 7.7 pounds in old money. And that means you need really a sturdy tripod, which I've got here, or a sturdy desk mount to mount this to your setup. I would recommend you get one if you're using a tripod with a fluid head, which allows you to tilt the prompter to the correct position. Now, there's a lot of metal in this prompter. It has to be, as I said, because it's a bit of a beast. The first thing you'll notice is you get this new metal bracket, and it has a screw on the back that mounts to the back of the prompter that allows you to raise and lower the camera to the perfect height for the aperture at the back of the actual prompter. You also get these gold screws that you can see here that I've mounted my quick release plate to. There's a reason why I'm using a quick release plate. I'll talk to you about that in a second. And also, if you look at the back of this bracket here underneath, it basically has a groove in there so you can position the camera exactly how you want it to be positioned. And depending on the type of lens that you got, if you've got a very large lens, you can use this prompter with larger lenses, which is great for people who have bigger cameras and bigger lenses. It all depends on how you want this to be set up. Let's talk a little bit about the brackets that come with this and the different mounting options. Brackets that you get with this prompter. Here's bracket number 1. This is the one I use because I use the camera with one of the supplied rings on the lens. It just slides into the back of this bracket, allowing you to make sure that there's no light leaking into the prompter or from behind the prompter, which is fine. This bracket just mounts to the back of the prompter. Let me just spin it around real quick. I'm not going to screw everything in place, but it just slots in like that, and then you can screw in the bracket with these 2 screws. Now the reason, as I mentioned earlier, why I have my riser on here is if you're doing live streaming or other things, you can't really mount a dummy battery to the back of your camera if the camera is flush to this bracket. So you do need a little bit of clearance on the back of this prompter in order for you to put in your dummy battery if that's what you're using. So I've mounted mine to a screw at the bottom, which is a riser quick release plate, allowing me to have sufficient clearance to mount my dummy battery in here. You still can't open the flap easily with this in here, but once the dummy battery is in, the cable has enough clearance to be able to come out to the bottom. But if it was mounted flush to this bracket, then it would be really hard to get your dummy battery in or out because it would pinch the wire. So just a word of caution if you are using this prompter in a live streaming environment and you do need to have that dummy battery configured. The next bracket on mounting plate is this magician's one where you can reveal something, but it's got a large aperture in here so you can put a big lens through there without a problem. Let me just show you. You just spin it around here. And the idea is it's exactly the same mounting system as the other one. You just simply slide it into here like that, put the screws in there, and then you cover your camera with this magician's cover here that stops any light getting into the back of the prompter and causing any glare and flare. We'll talk about glare and flare in a moment, but those are the sort of simple mounting and bracket options that you get with this prompter. You will notice as well that there is an LED on the back here and a little button, and this button is a power button. It's easier, I think, to use this. I think a lot of people wanted to have a power button instead of just using the Elgato software to actually turn off the monitor. So this is like a hard switch here that you can actually turn off the prompter that you want. As I mentioned when we did the side-by-side, let me just tighten this up so it doesn't slide. This prompter comes with this monitor that's actually magnetic. So it's a nice monitor. It's just got a standard plate on here. Let me just move this so you can see. So it's just a little 4 magnets, and then you just slide it over and it just snaps into place. And it's pretty sturdy. It's not gonna slip off or anything like that. And the great thing is, because they're positioned with the 4 magnets, it really just makes it easy to slip the monitor in and fixes it in the right position. A couple of last things I wanted to show you is the glass that you get with it. This is the mirrored glass. It fits on the prompter like this with the brackets on the side. It's not the easiest thing to get in. I would suggest that you put it in like this first, and then it just clips into place. Try not to touch the glass. And it does sort of snap into place by just clicking it all the way around like that. And once it's snapped in, it's good to go. The last thing I want to show you from a physical perspective is this cold shoe rail. What's a cold shoe rail? Well, it's a rail that allows you to put cold things on it. It's effectively the same as you have on a camera, which is a cold shoe mount on the top of your camera where typically you put a flash. But on here you can put a light, You can put an OBSBot camera on there, for example. You can basically put whatever you want that has a cold shoe mount on here, which is a great way then of maybe putting a microphone, for example, boom mic, something like that. And you can see that you can mount many things to this rail. And it's just a great addition to that. The old prompter just had two little cold shoe mounts either side, but this has a rail in it, so it allows you to put many more things on top of your prompter. So that's all the physical things with the Elgato Prompter XL. There are no differences to the Elgato software, so Camera Hub software, voice sync, the actual prompter software itself, and the fact that you still need to use it with DisplayLink software, which is that secondary software that you need to install as well. There's no changes to that. It's just the physical characteristics, the brightness, and obviously all those attributes that come with the prompter that are the main differences between this and the 9-inch version. So the way I have my prompter set up, it's around, I'd say 3 to 4 feet away from me, something like that. And the way that I'm using it is, it's really a third or fourth monitor to my setup, as well as using it for Zoom calls, confidence monitor, setting things up when I'm doing live streaming. You can use it as a monitor for YouTube videos, presentations, whatever you want. Now, the size of this monitor also lends itself to being at the other side of a room, so you can read a script from a farther distance, which is its intended purpose, and that's why a lot of people wanted a larger teleprompter in the first place. So if you're in a bigger studio and you're doing live streaming or anything that relates to having either a confidence monitor or a script being put on the prompter, then obviously this is a great use case for it to be farther away in your studio. But for me, my use case, using it for Zoom calls, live streams, and as a confidence monitor and as a third or fourth monitor in my setup, this is how I'm using it right now. One thing I noticed pretty quickly when I got this prompter is I was on a Zoom call, somebody decided to share their screen. It was a presentation with a white background. My brightness on the prompter was turned quite high and boof, I got this glare, this glow from that white presentation. And it's really a trait of a number of different prompters that I've used in the past. It was similar to the Elgato's 9-inch prompter, and it's just whereby anything that's really, really bright is going to go through the glass that is a mirrored glass effectively. That's how prompters work. And depending on the lens that you have on your camera and the coating and all that kind of stuff, it can cause that white glow to appear in your actual camera image. So I'm getting this white glow around me. And lots of people have spoken about this with the original 9-inch prompter. Turn the brightness down, change the contrast, don't show anything white on there as well. And it's the same with this prompter. I do have a video that's up here on how I actually fix that with this particular prompter. And you can apply it to any prompter really. You just use a polarizer filter on your lens if your camera supports that, and it allows you to dial it in and reduce the amount of reflections and glow on that. So that's one thing I would say about this. So if you are looking at getting this prompter or even the 9-inch prompter, then make sure you turn your brightness down, turn your backgrounds to dark, and try and reduce and minimize the amount of glow and reflections that you're going to get from anything that's white presented on the monitor. Just a tip, you can check out my video to make sure that you can get this set up and working how you want. The Prompter XL works really well in my environment. It suits my use cases specifically for on my Zoom calls and doing live streams and talks to camera like this. So it's a really good addition to my environment. Now, as I mentioned, it's not without its quirks. Obviously, the flaring and the glare that you see on the screen when you have white and bright objects being put on the actual monitor itself can be a problem, so you just have to be mindful of that. And as I mentioned, there are some workarounds to get over that, but it's the same on other prompters as well as the 9-inch one as well. So no sort of major differences, but it's still there. I was hoping that the glass would be a better quality glass that would reduce those glares that you would see with white content, but it's just the way that it is. So as long as you remember that and you have those workarounds, then that's fine. Other than that, there's not really that many downsides to this. I was expecting it though to be a little bit brighter. The comparison with the, on paper at least, the comparison with the 9-inch prompter versus this one, 400 nits versus 600 nits, Yeah, I was a little bit disappointed. I thought it would be a lot brighter. Now, if you've got a very bright studio with lots of bright lights on it, it might be difficult to see some of that text or the content on that monitor. My environment is quite dark. That's the way that I like it. I don't have any natural light in this room because of the environment that I'm in. But if you're in a large studio and it's a bright studio, you may have problems. I don't know because I haven't tested it like that, but I'm just throwing it out there. There's other reviews of this prompter on the interweb, so go and source those views as well, because obviously this is just my opinion and so on. But yeah, that's the real sort of points that I wanted to make about this prompter. It's great, it's heavy, make sure it's mounted on a sturdy tripod, and remember that you have to make sure that it's powered appropriately as well, and connecting it directly to your machine or via a high-powered hub. That's what you need to be aware of, because it obviously draws more power than the original one. Let me know in the comments what you think, if you're considering buying one, if you have one, if you've got any questions about it, any other use cases and so on. But I'm sure there's going to be more content pushed out around this prompter as people collect it and start playing with it. But thanks again, Elgato. Really appreciate you sending it to me. I'll see you in the next video.